Hey, I'm Roy, I'm a UI designer. I'm going to make a component in Figma and use a reference from Shadcn/UI. If you're in a team that does use Next.js or React or any library and they are familiar with Shadcn/UI and Tailwind CSS, I think this is probably a really good foundation or a setup to start from. And why would you do that with an early stage startup? There's a lot of debate about, does the design system, does it look like the production ready or live site? Is it aligned? So I think that Figma and Shadcn and Tailwind CSS principles combined, I think, is a really good combination. So let's just get into it. And here is the Shadcn calendar. And the nice thing about it, as a designer, why would you want to reference this component library? And it doesn't have to be Shadcn. There's loads of different libraries out there. But I know this has been gaining popularity, and it's built on top of Radix primitives, Radix UI primitives, and it's popular because they have also done a lot of work in terms of accessibility. Keyboard controls and screen readers, so that is why Shadcn is pretty popular. So anyway, as a designer, why would you want to look at this library? So the nice thing is here you get a live demo, so you can see all the different states, and you can go to the next. And this is the really nice thing about seeing a live component that you can reference, because it's very hard to start from scratch. And that's the other thing about early stage startups, is why do you want to start from scratch? You don't have the time, so you want to reuse components that have already been built and built to a high standard. Anyway, let's get into it. So the first thing I'm going to do, and just to quickly take you through what I'm doing here, I'm actually building a design system in Figma built with Tailwind CSS, and now I'm doing all of these different components. So you can see where I am, 25 out of 41. So now I'm going to do the calendar, and let's start with the T tool and just click. So let's just get the first one in 1. Now, just thinking about this very quickly, we can think about the different type of components within this component, or the little bits, or the atoms. So you can see here that we have the cells. I think they're calling it cells. Another thing you can do for naming, you can actually go into the code, and maybe a designer that's not familiar with code won't do this, but a developer can look at this code and probably straight away will be familiar with it. So you can see here they have cells, they have day, head row, table, they have buttons for the navs. So let's go back here. So straight away, what I always tend to do is use auto layout, and that's a Shift A. And the benefit of that, straight away, if you're not familiar with auto layout, is you can use spacing variables. There's a lot more benefits to it. So I'm not going to actually, what you can do is you can screenshot this, bring it here, and then just go, you're practically tracing over it. I'm going to go by eye. So here I'm going to go in. You can see I've got my variables set up. So I'm going to go to, actually have to sort this out properly. So dot primitives, it's not actually hiding from, but here I've got my tokens, and I've got my spacing system set up, and this is referencing the Tailwind CSS. So should we say that's 10? Which probably feels a bit wider than that. So 12. Is it even steep? And again, don't worry about doing things perfectly, right? This is the other thing about in an early stage startup. Don't put so much pressure on yourself. You don't want to get things perfect. And I think the reason why, so I'm actually gonna, again, I'm referencing the textiles to keep things nicely aligned. The only downside I think is this has got a line height in it, but let's just, again, we're not going to try and keep this, we're not going to make this perfect. And then there's going to probably be a border radius, and again I've got my variables, so I'm just going with 6 and you can't see anything right now. So, and then even the color, I've also set up variables for that. So I've done it by text, and that's the token, and I'm going to say grey 9. Okay, so what we're going to call this, I'm just going to say cell. And again, you don't have to name your layers, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn that into a component. So Command Alt K, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create different variants to represent the different states. So you can see you've got, like, would that be disabled, or I don't know the naming for that. This is another painful thing about components, is namings, or naming conventions. So we go here, we go variant. So this is, we're actually going to just, so we start with default, and then for now I'm just going to call this disabled, and I'm going to change that to, should we say 5? Probably looks more faded. Let's say 4. Let me just click on the whole thing, and I want to just say, let's say state, and I'm going to make that lowercase, and this could even represent the code as well. So if you pair up with an engineer, that is another recommendation. This is what I did in a previous startup. I worked closely with the CTO, and he was doing the front end. There was a gap in that we were not experts in front end, so we didn't componentize, is that such a word, the components. We just copy pasted from Tailwind CSS, and then he wired up the data because we lacked the time to make things, or to componentize the components, if that makes sense. So anyway, default disabled. Okay, so another one is active, and another one is probably hover, right? And I may have missed some, but that's okay. So background, I do BG. It's again referencing the Tailwind, and I don't have a BG grey 9. How crazy is that? So I'm going to go and create that right now. So you can see I've got border. Now I'm going to go to BG. Let's see, where did I put it? BG. Oh, wowzers. Don't even have. Now there we go. So I'm just going to duplicate that and say 9. And you see I've got dark and light for now, just to not think about it. Well, you can think about it. I'm going to say we're going to go opposite for dark mode, see how that goes. And if I just, can I show you the properties of these? Wow. Yeah, so here, rather than let it show up for everything, I'm just making sure that it shows up for frame and shape, because this is the background. This is not text. This is not effects. Just a little thing in there, little tip. So yeah, go back to active. Let's go to fill, BG, and there we go, 9. Now the text, you can see here, the nice thing is because I've set up the variables, the tokens, I can do it from this. Rather than having to drill down into the text. That's another nice thing. So I'm going to say, hey, we want, oh, yeah, there we go, text 29. And it's actually looking a bit too tall, so a bit too the height. So I'm going to actually go into all of them, make it just a bit shorter, and maybe a bit wider. So let's say 40. Okay. Yeah. You can see how close we get, but let's leave it at that. Oh, let's make it a tiny. Let's just make it a bit taller. Okay. So we got disabled. I'm feeling that's probably when you hover. That's going to be BG. That grade 50. You can't really see because there is a, let me just actually go to pure white for the whole thing. You can barely see that, so let's go to BG grade 100. Okay, that's looking good. Nice. So the next thing is these. So probably we could call these headers, maybe. Are we going to separate these from these? Because then you're going to have rows. Again, you can see here you've got head row, head cell. There you go. So they're calling it head cell. And they don't seem to have any states on those. So I'm just going to, let's just say Sue. And that, does that look smaller? Does it look smaller? I would say yes. So let's go a bit smaller, and let's choose a different text grade. Should we say 6? There we go. And the spacing is probably going to have to match this, I'm assuming. Ooh, that might be a bit, let's see how that goes. So 14 and 8. Ooh. The spacing might not align properly, so Shift A, and what's it, 14. Oops, no, that's the wrong one. Let's try again. 14 and 8. It doesn't reference, yeah. So I'm going to say what, 6? No, 4. Oh, there we go. So spacing, no, let's say 3. 3.5. Okay, there we go. And it doesn't look as tall. So I'm going to say, let's say that is 4. Okay. And let's call that head cell. Command OK. And what you want to do is you want to make the text editable, and you want to do the same for each of these. So I'm going to go into the text layer. So you can't see my shortcut, but when you click, you hit enter, and that will set all the children. And you hit enter again, you go into the children of that, or the child. Click here, and it's the text. Okay. And then this one, we have a, is that a head as well? It probably will be. And there's different variants. Or should we go different? Again, we're just looking at clues in how they've done they have a label. With the I have a feeling the label is caption label. So I'm just guessing at the moment, but of course you can line things up. Yeah, I'm going to say caption. Okay, so text January, gosh, Happy New Year, by the way, if you haven't heard that. So let's go 9, and let's make that medium. It's looking a bit, okay. And now we got, well, let's componentize that. That's a long word. Maybe that is such a word, and we call that caption. Command OK, enter, and make that editable as well. Is there any spacing on there? I really don't know, but I'm just going to go in and put 0 on all of them. And then we just need buttons, and I've already made these, so I just do Shift-I, button. I've actually moved away from base components because of performance issues. Button icon, I called it. And let's go, should we go small? Yeah, let's go small. And can we go secondary? Because we don't want it to be fully rounded. So let's go 6. And let's change the icon to Chev. There we go. Nice. If we just command that, and we want the chevron right, which I haven't put in the preferred. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to local, and you say chevron, you want the right. There we are. Great. So now we have the atoms, okay, and now we're going over to the molecules. That makes sense. So let's begin. So if we actually want to make rows, that in itself is going to be a molecule. So Command D, bring it over. How many days in a week? Gosh. So let's do that. Oh, why did it place it weirdly like that? That's new, isn't it? Didn't used to do it like that. Let me select Tool Shift A. We want it to go to the right. Is there any spacing? So one way to tell is you can go here. There doesn't seem to be any spacing, so I'm just going to say 0. Five, 6, 7. Okay, great. Now we want to call that head row. And these namings might be terrible. Command OK. So I'm turning that into a component. And what I want to make sure is I expose the nested instances so I can then make changes. And now we're going to do the same for the days. So let's do that. So Shift I, cell. Let's hope I haven't named anything else. Cell. Oh, there we go. Cell. And let's do that 7 times. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and my head is in the way. Shift A. Okay, so that is looking a lot. I have a feeling there's probably going to be a fixed height because of the numbers. I really have a feeling there is a fixed height. Right now, I can check this out by inspecting, and it's actually a button. Okay, and let's see, did he or did Shad? There we go. So he did put in a fixed width and height of 9. So luckily I've set up variables for that, so I want to select all of them. I'm going to say fixed, and we want to find my width variables, and he put 9, so I'm sure that he is referencing Tailwind, so I'm going to go with 9. There we go. And let's do the same for height. And he put 9, and I'm going to go 9. There we go. Let me just go. Yeah, why did those not go through here? Okay, it did. I think I'm in dreamland or something. So here I'm actually going to match that up with these as well. So we go to fixed and I say height again, 6. There we go. So things are starting to align up, hopefully. We'll see. And we're just going to call that row, just to keep it simple. And Command Alt K. Properties, nested, and we want to expose all of these. Be nice if you had a select all button, like up here. That could be useful. Okay, great. Now, and they've organized this in a table. Interesting. Okay, very nice. Well, it is a table, to be fair. So you got T head, TR. Amazing. Yeah. So now I'm just going to I'm going to Command E that, bring it over, and just Shift A. And we're going to say auto in the middle. And what are we going to call that? I wonder what they call that. Head row, caption row, header. What do you think? Oof. That's a caption wrapper. Caption row. Chicken out of it. Okay. Great. So now let's try and create that. Actually, let's make sure that all the nested instances are available to change. You can see that I didn't do that state, but the buttons probably have a hover state. So anyway, let's Command D and bring it over and then combine these. So Shift A. There we go. What do we call that? Let's just call it calendar for now. So it does look like there's spacing. Yeah. So again, let's not go too perfect, right? Let's say that there is no spacing there, and there probably is. Looks like it. So you've got caption, you've got head. Okay. It looks like these two are combined. Let's have a think. For now, let's just use the gap, and we're going to go with 4. Looks like it's going to be a bit more than that. Let's say 6. Let me get another one there. Yeah, maybe we keep it like that for now. And Command D, 3, 4, 5. Right. And wonderful. So there we have it, right? I'm just gonna start doing this now. So active, this one is disabled, and then the last 3 is disabled. So rather than me, rather than you, well, actually, let me componentize this. Command OK. Let's get the spacing sorted out. I think it's a value of 4. What does that look like? Let's say 12. 12 and 12. And let's get the border. Oops. Let's say border free. And let's get a, there we go. And it is looking, yeah, looks like there's a bit more space. So let's go 14. Yeah, okay. I think that is good enough for now. So yeah, so there we have it. And then here again, you have to go into properties and you have to make sure that every single one is ticked. So again, probably it would be nice if Figma can have a tick button up there. That would be useful. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. Let's see how this goes. Maybe I'll do more components. And have a good rest of the day. Cheers, bye.